Fellas, welcome back to Today in Combat. We're going to do something a little bit different this week. We're going to break down the lightweight division because it is a bit of a mess. As you know, Ilia Topuria has entered the fray at 155. And if you notice on my screen, I do not have him fighting Islam Makhachev. I thought we got a lot of interesting little tidbits from the Joe Rogan experience this weekend, having one Ilia Topuria on. We're going to watch some of those videos here in a bit and kind of parse out what we actually think is going on in this lightweight division. But then we also had massive wins by the likes of Justin Gaethje against Rafael Fiziev. We had Paddy Pimblett over Michael Chandler, a fucking beatdown. Dustin Poirier, of course, on his last fight, supposedly retirement fight. I think we know who's going to be there. I don't think I'm going to shock anybody with that one. But let's break down the lightweight division. Obviously, you see on the screen, I got a bunch of fighters in. We're going to fill in the blanks there. But then you can also see we have the list of the top 15, starting with Islam Makhachev at champion, going down to Joel Alvarez at 15. So even the ones that I don't mention, we'll talk a little bit about on the back end. But let's get into it. And I think this really, Islam Makhachev, we've heard some rumors about the guy. He's waiting for the Belal Jack Della Maddalena fight to happen, to come to some sort of conclusion about what he wants next. And I think we got a little bit more insight on the Joe Rogan experience between Joe Rogan and Ilia Topuria. We're going to watch that now.
Come on, fight
If
this
he
guy.
told you something about me?
Maybe a little bit. If he did, I can't tell you. I did ask who you're going to fight, and they said we're working on things. But he was actually specifically talking about what happens if Belal wins. You know, because Islam and Belal, they've been talking about Islam fighting Belal.
That's going to happen.
I would like that to happen if Belal wins, but that's an if. Jack Della Maddalena is a bad motherfucker. He's good, man. Yeah. That guy's good.
Even if he wins, they're going to make that fight happen against Islam.
You think so?
Yeah.
So there's a couple things to take away from that. First of all, Joe Rogan said he talked to Dana. He heard that they were trying to figure out Islam and Belal. Red flag number one. Second of all, Ilia agreed. He didn't say, that should be my fight. He didn't say, you know, I want that fight. He said, that's going to happen. Which I found kind of, I mean, if anybody's going to know the conversation behind the scene, one is Joe Rogan. Two is going to be Ilia Topuria, obviously the guy that's involved into this fight. So I found that really interesting that he didn't give any sort of pushback on that. And then even when the thought of Jack Della Maddalena came up, he said, yeah, either one, doesn't matter which one it is going to be. Ilia believes that Islam is going to get that fight, which to me means on the back end, he's hearing otherwise. I think there's a different opponent in mind for Ilia Topuria. Islam presumably is going up to 170, which I'm not mad at. Islam's a big motherfucker. Of course, I love the Ilia-Islam fight. I think it's one of the biggest fights you can make in the UFC right now. But Islam Belal, Islam Jack Della Maddalena, Islam getting into that new pool, let's be honest. He's dried out that lightweight division outside of Ilia Topuria, who just got there. The other guys like Charles Oliveira, Justin Gaethje, you know, Dustin Poirier, beat him. Dan Hooker, he's beat him. So you do got the likes of like a Paddy Pimblett. You got the likes of Arman Tsarukyan sitting there. You got the likes of Ilia Topuria. But Ilia is the only one that really feels like he's got the potential for right now. Let's make a fight right now. So that being said, as you can see, I think he fights Belal. I think he fights Belal next. I think we see him go up to 170. And I guess I'm being presumptuous a little bit. Could very well be Jack Della Maddalena. But I just mean whoever wins that fight, I think Islam is going to go up. I think that's where his head is at. I think that's where the UFC has came to. I guess, of course, they probably want to make the Ilia fight. But I think Islam, maybe just being hard-headed, has said, hey, I'm done. Now, what does that mean for Ilia Topuria? That's kind of the next question. What does that mean for the lightweight belt? I think we also got clarification there. Here, listen to a little bit more of this video.
Anyways, if they give me the fight with Charles, it's going to be a
That's
good
a good
one.
fight too.
Also.
That's a great fight too. That's
It's
a great fight too. There's a lot of guys in that division.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of good fights for you at 155 pounds. Do you have a timeline of when you would like to fight at 155?
I would like to fight with Islam. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to fight him.
But if they don't give you that fight, if they give you like a number one contender fight, when would you like to fight next?
I wouldn't fight for a number one contender
Really?
fight. No.
You only want to fight for the title?
Yeah, of course.
Really? Okay.
Of course.
I understand. That makes sense to me.
Now here's Ilia saying, hey, I do want to fight Islam. Let's make no mistake about it. I'd be happy to fight Islam. But if I'm not going to fight Islam, I'm not fighting for a number one contender spot. When I left 145, I got promised a title shot. That's what I want. I want to be the 155 champ. I want you to honor my end of the deal. I left. I vacated. There's a new champion at 145. Alexander Volkanovski, by the way. Come on, boy. New champion at 145. I lost my pay-per-view points and moving up. My next fight needs to be for the title. So, as he said at the beginning of that clip, Charles Oliveira would be a good fight. I think that's the fight he's going to get, and I think it's going to be for a vacant belt. Ilia moved up. He had to lose his belt. If Islam wants to do the same, especially with a true number one guy in his face, if he wants to move up, if he wants to leave his division, he's got to give up that belt too. We heard some rumblings a while ago that they're not doing the double champ thing anymore. I don't think that was ever really confirmed. I think Dana kind of brushed it off when it was asked to him in the media. I can't really remember exactly what he said, but it didn't sound like it was, done forever. It's just more like if you're going to hold up a division, you got to let it go. And in this case, if Islam is deciding, hey, I got to go up to 170 and get something done there, then he's holding up a division. I think that belt goes vacant, and I think Charles Oliveira, for the second time in his career, is going to fight for the vacant lightweight championship belt. First time, of course, was Khabib vacating his belt, this time being Islam. He fought Michael Chandler last time. I think he gets Ilia this time. And let's be honest, a fantastic fucking fight. A fantastic fight. Ilia Charles Oliveira, give me that all fucking day. That's a great fight. Do I prefer Islam? 100%. But if Islam's set in his ways, he wants to go up to 170, we're going to get that vacant belt. I think Charles Oliveira gets a shot. He's coming off of a win over Michael Chandler. Unfortunately, Arman Tsarukyan is kind of the odd man out in this situation, which is why I believe they go Justin Gaethje, Arman Tsarukyan. For a couple of reasons. First of all, Justin Gaethje just fought down. I think the other option here for him would have been Paddy Pimblett. He did just fight Rafael Fiziev. He fought down in the division. He doesn't have that many fights left. He wants to work his way back to a title. He earned that right in my mind. I think you let him fight up. Arman Tsarukyan's kind of got to get back on the UFC's good graces. I think taking a fight with Justin Gaethje would do just that. It's a dangerous matchup. Justin Gaethje's dangerous for anybody, but also I think a winnable fight for Arman. So I don't think he would shy away from it. But that's what I think you do. You let Justin Gaethje and Arman Tsarukyan kind of figure it out. You'll get a second kind of true number one contender out of that fight, which gives Paddy Pimblett Dan fucking Hooker. I haven't heard a ton of this. I heard, of course, Paddy in his post-fight called out the likes of, he said, Justin, Dustin, Charles. He mentioned Arman on the back end, but it was really Justin, Dustin, Charles. Unfortunately, I don't believe he's going to get any of those just with the way the division's working right now. Dustin kind of seems he's got his fight. His stuff he's gone. Could have maybe got the Justin fight. I think Charles is going to get that vacant title shot. Paddy Pimblett, Dan Hooker's a fucking banger. A fucking banger. And with the way that Paddy looked, I think he might even be the favorite in this fight. Dan Hooker coming off of an injury, but as tough as they come. His last win was against Mateusz Gamrot, where he showed some incredible wrestling defense, and Dan Hooker's got the heart. So I think it's a fantastic matchup. And you want to see Paddy Pimblett get tested. There's nobody more violent. Michael Chandler's violent. Dan Hooker is the king of violence, brother. He's a bad motherfucker. I think that would be an incredible matchup. And a real kind of next step up for Paddy, just working up that rankings. Of course, right now he's sitting at 8. Dan Hooker's sitting at 6. That's going to put him right on the back end of that top 5. Dustin Poirier, next time he fights, speak of the devil, got him against Max Holloway. We'll be dropping out of that rankings. We assume he's going to retire with this fight. This shouldn't be a shocker to anybody. I think everybody is kind of expecting this fight for Dustin Poirier. I think it's all but announced. But Dustin Poirier would be dropping out of that rankings, which would put Paddy Pimblett into that top 5 if he can get over Dan Hooker. If not, if Dan Hooker wins that fight, then you can make a fight like Dan Hooker, Justin Gaethje, Dan Hooker, Charles Ali. I'll fucking watch Dan Hooker fight anybody. I'll watch him fight a brick wall. That's how fun he is to watch fight. So I think it makes kind of perfect sense with the way that I believe this division is going. And I could be dead wrong. We could get Islam Ilia. This could be completely fiction. Everything that I'm spitting right now, I just took away from that JRE interview with a couple, if anybody's going to know, it's going to be the guy that's in negotiations and fucking Joe Rogan. So from what I heard, it didn't feel promising, but I could be wrong, 100%. But Dustin Poirier, Max Holloway, a great fight. A Dustin Poirier retirement fight. We're hoping it gets made in Louisiana. I think that's the plan right now. But this is just a fun one for the fans. They fought before a long fucking time ago. I can't even. I guess it was his. I don't know. Was it at 145 or was it 155? I don't know. I don't want to lose my screen right here. I'd look it up, but tell me if I'm wrong. I think they fought before. Doesn't fucking matter. Dustin Poirier retirement fight, win or lose, doesn't matter. Let's have some fucking fun with this one. Max Holloway, of course, coming off of that KO loss to Ilia Topuria, trying to resync himself into this 155 division. Of course, he has a win over Justin Gaethje. Seems like 145 is in the rear view for him. I'd love to see him really make a resurgence here at 155. But unfortunately for him, the guy that knocked him out is knocking on his doorstep. He came here too. So we'll see how that plays out. That leaves you Michael Chandler is coming off of a pretty one-sided affair. His last time out against one Paddy Pimblett. So what I see for Chandler is he's now going to be the kingmaker in this division for as long as he wants to fight. He's now going to be the kingmaker. I got him against Joel Alvarez. I know Joel has a fight against Benoit Saint-Denis. I think this fight goes either way. If Benoit wins, Michael Chandler, Benoit, fantastic fight. If Joel Alvarez wins, I'd love to see him kind of build his name off of a guy like, and I hate to say it like that, but he is, like I said, he's going to be the new kingmaker. He's going to be the guy in your way when you're trying to walk up those rankings, and he still has enough star power to his name. He still has enough draw to the Michael Chandler experience of violence that I think he's still going to draw the eyeballs. So I think you do want to put a guy like Joe Alvarez, who you're trying to prop, where a lot of this division is either set in stone who they are or, not that exciting. Maybe a touch past their prime. So I think Joel Alvarez, Benoit Saint-Denis, that's a little bit interchangeable. Now let's talk about the guys we didn't talk about. Mateusz Gamrot at 7, we don't have a fight for. Beneil Dariush at 9, Rafael Fiziev at 11, and then Grant Dawson at 14. Grant Dawson, I could see. Oh, sorry, Renato Moicano. You can't forget about the money man, Renato. I think Renato actually gets. I think a Renato Mateusz Gamrot fight would be fantastic. Mateusz, of course, a bit of a crotch sniffer. Renato Moicano, a world-class freaking jiu-jitsu practitioner. He also did the UFC a giant favor. I don't think him losing to Islam, even though it was quick and not very competitive, I don't think that damaged his stock too much. I think the UFC will reward him with a step up in ranking. Mateusz coming off of a loss to Dan Hooker. I think this makes sense, and I just think it's a good fight. Renato Moicano, Mateusz Gamrot, I think that's a great fight to make. And the Beneil Dariush, Grant Dawson, I like that fight too. Beneil kind of got fucked on that same card. He was supposed to be fighting Renato Moicano. He ended up not fighting. So I think he should be ready to go. Grant Dawson hasn't fought for a bit, just made his way into the top 15. I want to say it was probably last November, maybe December, that he fought in the Apex. You remember he was talking about his wife's ass. A fucking great clip. Grant Dawson is building a bit of a name for himself off of that. But yeah, would like to see that some turnover into some of these names in 155, where we got some guys climbing like Joel Alvarez or you know, if Benoit Saint Denis can get back on, maybe you can see my bias here. I think Joel Alvarez is a fucking stud. But like Joel Alvarez, like, oh, we still have Rafael Fiziev sitting here. Who does Fiziev get? Lost his last fight to Justin Gaethje. 12 days notice. We got to consider that. We give Fiziev. Now Fiziev is our odd man out. Fuck. Fiziev is our odd man out. If Grant Dawson gets... If Hanato gets Mataush, Grant Dawson gets Beneil. I could... And Fiziev very well could get Beneil, but I'd also like to see... Like, we're going to get the answer to none of these soon. That's the problem. Fuck. Who does Fiziev? Drop that in the comment. Who does Fiziev match up with next? Is he one of the guys already named? Is it one of the guys? Could it be a Mataush Gamrot? Could it be something like that? He did injure, you know, his injury came to Mataush Gamrot. He was looking good to start that fight. That could make total sense. But then we're looking at Hanato Moicano on the outside, and I don't think you want to do that. Man. Who does Fiziev fight next? I think that's the question to answer at the end of this video. Who does that leave Fiziev for? I think he gets rewarded. I want to say he fights up. But I don't know. You see the top 15. It'll definitely be a top 15 fighter. So you see the top 15. Where am I right? Where am I wrong? The whole thing could get blown up if Islam fights Ilia, as I think everybody wants him to. But who does Fiziev fight next? I want the answer to that in the comments. Peace, love. Thank you for watching. Have a good one.